Virtual RC Racing, the Inside Story. Episode 10. Database Work, Website, and Release VRC v3. My name is Peter Barefoots. The VRC adventure, which started in 1995 with the development of the VRC-1 GamePort adapter, had finally culminated in an RC racing sim of some sort. Okay, it only covered 1.8 and 1.10 Nitro on-road, but those two classes were the most feasible to do, as that's where my Serpent experience and expertise was. And not to forget all the data from our DRX 2000 data logger to work with to come up with something that was as close as possible to the real thing. Todd had done a fantastic job with the physics and had become an expert in understanding car setup and even in driving these virtual equivalents of the real cars. Tony had done an amazing job creating the cars in a series of on-road tracks for which I had provided the reference material. Now it was just a matter of setting up structures for competitions, member registration, and of course the virtual RC website for members to be able to see the race results, rankings, and what have you. First up was creating a database and good website for the Team Serpent Network, TSN, a kind of a community website for Serpent racers, dealers, and distributors. As I explained in Episode 1, we had started to work on the TSN already in 1994 or 1995. After a first attempt with a Dutch software development company, we coincidentally met with Marek Straka, Lubo Novak, Tomas Plebana, and Marek Simon, all from Trenčín, where they studied at the same university as Mario Hudi, yes, Jure Hudi's son. Marek was a hardware expert, Lubo website, Tomas database, and Marek Simon security and firewall expert. We had all the important parts of the TSN project covered. Through our early contact with X-Ray's Mario Hudi, we met several times in Slovakia, and although they had very little experience in database and website development, I had a gut feeling that these guys were very intelligent, knowledgeable, eager to learn, and super motivated to start working for Serpent. This was 1995, just 6 years after the Berlin Wall had fallen. Slovakia and the Netherlands were different worlds, and Slovakians and Dutch were totally different people. A big challenge for all of us to make this work. You should also remember that Internet had just kicked off a few years before, and nobody really knew where this was heading. There were no hosting centers yet. Internet was slow. Access to the Internet was mainly through telephone modems. A little later, ADSL was introduced. Transfer rates were between 28 and 56 kilobits per sec. Hard to believe, but that's how it was back in the 90s. Anyway, I felt confident that my Slovak team could develop anything I would come up with, even though at that time I had very little understanding of what was at all feasible. Their first job was to build and set up an in-house server for Serpent. I remember they drove over from Trenčín, Slovakia overnight, arriving at the Serpent factory in the Netherlands somewhere around noon, go to work till midnight, and sleeping all together in 2 rooms I had arranged for them. And next day at 9 till midnight, same thing, sometimes for a week long. Anyway, they got to work on the Serpent Web and Database Server and the Team Serpent Network, TSN. I think we spent 2 years to put TSN online, and development continued as the Internet landscape was changing fast. TSN was a very ambitious and advanced project. I have already described it as kind of a Facebook avant la lettre for RC racers. It really was way ahead of the competition. At hindsight, it was a great learning experience for my VRC project. Around 2000, we started the development of VRC v3. We needed internal structures for member registration and license verification, a database for race results, a support structure, and of course a website to publish about VRC and for members to see their race results. All this was taken care of by Team Slovakia, while on the sim side, VRC v3 was developed simultaneously, headed by Lothar Pantel. In 1998, we released Virtual RC Racing version 1. This version was developed entirely by Lothar, using 2D graphics. It of course included my home track in Heemstede, which I had initiated back in '81. In fact, VRC v1 was our first step in creating a true RC racing sim, but with hardly any involvement of me. It was more like a logical next step of Lothar's own RC Car Trainer v2, which was 2.5D. In those days, games were distributed on CD-ROMs, as the Internet was way too slow to download large file sets over the Internet. So, we put VRC v1 on a CD-ROM. Tony created a nice cover, and we were ready to sell it as a Serpent product. Interestingly, the CD-ROM cover shows the Team Serpent Network website, some images of VRC, images of the DRX 2000 Start data logger, and an image showing Serpent movies. Anyway, it's clear that virtual RC racing was still very much an integral part of the Serpent product mix, a promotional product to engage racing game racers and introduce them to RC racing. In 1999, we released the next version of VRC V2. Version 2 of Virtual RC Racing added support for 3D hardware acceleration via DirectX, since at that time new types of graphics cards with 3D hardware acceleration for Windows started to become popular on the market. Accordingly, the second version of Virtual RC Racing featured a higher polygon count and a higher texture resolution compared to version 1, resulting in significantly better graphics. Computer game development was accelerating at a crazy rate early 2000, and somehow I felt we had no other option than to accelerate our game development too, in 2004 resulting in the release of VRC V3. VRC V3 was the first VRC project with a deep involvement of the whole VRC team. Lothar for the game architecture, Todd for the physics, Tony for the graphical content, Team Slovakia for the database structures and website, and me for developing the game concept, features, and promotion. Besides single-player, racing online competitions, dual-player mode, and a limited set of on-road tracks, VRC V3 featured replay opponents which you could race against in practice mode. In 2005, we released VRC V3.1. Things were getting serious now. The now infamous and highly appreciated AI cars were introduced in V3.1, something never seen before in any sim racing game. It was a unique feature which I explained in the previous episode. I wish I had more video footage of the AI cars racing each other, or you racing them. As I earlier explained, although the AI cars used pre-programmed lines from a set of 20 to 25 recorded laps, Todd had developed them into intelligent, forward-looking and anticipating cars. An AI car could see the car in front of him, judges its position and speed, knows where the next corner is, and then calculate an overtake or a collision avoidance maneuver, overtake on the inside or outside, and at what speed, and then make the pass without crashing into the car in front. When an AI car crashed with another car and was shot off, it was able to find its way back to the racetrack, speed up again, and continued its race. I could watch them for hours. Every lap, every overtake was different. For me, the AI cars concept still ranks in the top 3 innovative achievements of virtual RC racing. The last release under the Serpent brand was VRC V3.2 in 2004. The main new feature of V3.5 was multi-language support. I had asked Lothar to create a structure to enable the use of multiple languages in the game, as I assumed that it would make VRC more accessible for racers from around the world. We had created a library to add the translation for every text used inside the game. I remember that besides English we had Dutch, of course, German, French, Italian, and later even Japanese. Lothar had to rewrite the library structure to enable Japanese characters. Why Japanese? That will become clear in the next episode when I will write about the VRC V3.5 release. To be able to fully focus on VRC, early 2005 I had decided to leave Serpent to Michael Salvin and Ronald Barr. I created a new company, Virtual Racing Industries or VRI, and put all my focus and resources on developing VRC into the best RC racing sim ever. No idea what laid ahead of me. No idea of what adventure I was getting involved in. And no idea how long it would take and how much money it would take to realize this dream. And remember, in the mid-zeros, everything related to gaming accelerated at a dramatic pace. Hardware, graphics cards, CPUs, monitors, DirectX, game development platforms Unity and Unreal. And to be honest, most of it was totally beyond me. It was truly a giant step into the unknown. But first we had to roll out our first proper RC game, VRC V3.5. That's next. Make sure to subscribe to the Virtual RC Racing, the Inside Story playlist so you don't miss an episode of this compelling inside story. Thank you for watching.